Great to be joined by Louisville third-year head coach Chris Mack on Demetris and a splash of Fanta this week. Coach, thanks so much for taking the time. I'll start with this. In a word, describe this college basketball season from your perspective.
Unexpected. I think you have to really expect the unexpected, John. I don't, in the off season, we had several ACC head coaches Zoom meetings, and there was a lot of uncertainty whether the games would be played, whether we'd even have a season. And from the very beginning of the year when it got pushed back, if you remember, a few weeks, to teams taking pause at the beginning of the year, teams taking pauses middle of the year, teams on pause now. Some teams haven't played 25 games. Some teams haven't played 10 games. It's just been nothing like I've ever seen, and hopefully we don't have to see again after this season ends.
Speaking of not playing games, what were some of the challenges that you guys had to face postponing those 4 games a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, Demetris, I think the biggest thing that is the challenge is you lose a lot of practice time. I think obviously fans and people that follow college basketball just see the missed games, the nights that you're not on ESPN, the missed matchups. But, as a coach, you're trying to build daily habits and get your team better throughout the year. And it's really difficult when you miss 7 days in a row of practice. Even during those pauses, there were times when we couldn't even get guys in the gym individually.
Yeah. Not
only are they not doing team practices, they're not even getting shots up, and they lose conditioning level. And so now when you get back from a pause, it's difficult because the team you're playing maybe hasn't missed a beat for the last month. So that's the biggest challenge, is just trying to get your conditioning, your timing, your win, keeping your confidence, let alone the teams that you're playing.
Right.
What's been the wildest story of this season for you?
Wow. I'm probably going through COVID myself, having to, and so many people have gone through it, so I'm not going to sound like a martyr, but just watching my team practice on the computer, being at home in the basement, connecting with the assistant coaches by phone, by Zoom. These are my thoughts, but, nothing replaces being on the floor with your guys. And to not be around for a period of 12 days. I didn't miss any games, John, but, you feel like you miss a lifetime when you're not around your team that long. So that probably has been the strangest part.
What can you say about the transfer guard and Malik, his leadership, his scoring? He leads the league in a couple of categories like scoring, steals, and assists. What can you say about his play and his adaptability joining a new team?
Yeah, he's been phenomenal for our team. He's an incredible playmaker. Even without talking about his ability to score, his ability to get separation, get in the lane, he's a great teammate. He has an appreciation. No disrespect to Radford. He had a phenomenal career there, but he comes to Louisville. He's in chartered flights. He's in a 22,000 seat arena playing his games, although it's not filled to capacity like we're used to. But he's playing high major college basketball and all the nice perks that you get. He is so appreciative. There's no entitlement, and I think that's how he plays. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. He practices that way. He's been a terrific player for us all year long, and a guy that's I think one of the best players in the ACC.
Chris, there are numbers out there. There are also narratives out there, like there are many narratives in college basketball, some of which are false. But there is the idea out there that if you go from a lower mid-major to a power conference school, that at times that can be too difficult for certain players. Why is Carlik Jones the opposite of that?
That's a great question. Because you see it all over, John. It's a big jump, and it's not that a guy can't do it every once in a while, but like to consistently be really good at this level, it's a challenge. And Carlik's got a tremendous belief in himself. You know, I think that he's been counted out a lot his whole life. You know, even coming out of high school, he didn't have his pick of the litter. Even at the level that he chose to go to, it wasn't like he had 10, 15 scholarship offers and let me pick from, you know, these low and mid-major schools that I have. He hardly had anything. And I think it was frustrating for him. I think, you know, he had a couple AAU teammates that were highly recruited. And I think he thought he was the leader. And I think he's carried that chip on his shoulder. But I think it starts with his heart, his belief in himself, certainly his skill level, his change of speed, you know, his ability to play through contact at his size. He's not 6'4", 200 pounds. Those things, I think, skill-wise have carried him. But I think it really starts with that belief in himself and his heart.
Yeah. I mean, like, it seems like he's, you know, like it's easier for a guy who transferred from a team where all 5 guys on the opposing team was trying to stop him. Now, guys can't, you know, focus mainly on him because you have other players, you know, can contribute. Talk about your other guys who have stepped up and the improvements that they made this season.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with David Johnson, who obviously didn't play our last game against Notre Dame's first game he missed all year, unrelated to COVID, but he was sick. And, you know, David's a different guard than Carlik. You know, he's a lot bigger. You know, he's really explosive. He's a guy that at times, Demetris, will put on the blocks and post up. And so it's a little bit of pick your poison. I think David's ability here to shoot, you know, I think that was something that a lot of people said that he had to prove. He shot over 40% from the three-point line all year long. So, you know, he's been a big threat for our team. You know, he's also been dynamic with the basketball as well. So it's not one guy making plays. I think Sam Williamson over the last, you know, few weeks has really emerged for our team. He's a guy that I think if he gets in the lane, his mid-range game is as good as there is in college basketball. You know, we play teams that zone Demetris, and he's really good at the high post. He has an ability to knock that shot down, and he's a really good rebounder. So, and now you add a guy like Malik Williams, who's been, you know, an experienced ACC player for several years. Hopefully he keeps getting his timing back. He keeps getting in better shape. And I start to think just guys like Jalen Withers and, you know, other guys it's not just a one-man team with Carlik.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate those 2 guys that missed last game will be back for Duke?
You know, I don't know that just yet, John. I think that David's trying to practice here as we do this podcast. It's Thursday, so I feel like, you know, as long as good to go Thursday, Friday, we should see him on Saturday. Josh Nickelberry is still under the weather, and so I don't know if he'll be back in time, to be quite honest.
Now, you guys played Duke a month ago. You just beat them by 5 points. How do you prepare for a team like Duke that has seemed to kind of find their mojo? They're playing a lot better. Young guys are stepping up. How do you guys prepare for a team making improvements late in the season?
Yeah, well, it starts with personnel. You know, our guys really know their guys. After you play a game, you have a really good sense of what individuals do. But I think the greater story is the fact that Duke's playing a lot differently. You know, when we played them the first time, they were almost exclusively that 3-2 zone. Now they may throw that out a handful of times in the game, but generally they're all the, you know, man-to-man. They're what Duke's been about for a long time. They are trying to disrupt. They're denying all over the floor. They're going to try to keep the ball out of Carlik's hands once he gives it up. They're really a team that is playing much different defensively. In addition, they're playing Mark Williams, who didn't play against us. He's now man in the center position, you know, 15, 20 minutes a game. They're really looking high-low. That's putting Matthew Hurt at the 4. You know, when you're 7 feet tall and you have the timing in the hands that Mark Williams does, you know, they can do a lot of things around the basket. You know, his ability on defense too, because they're denying, he's erasing shots at the rim. It allows them to have a little bit more of a chancy attitude on the defensive end. And so, you know, it's a much different team just because of the dynamic he brings to the table.
Chris, what do you think of the Jalen Johnson situation?
You know, I don't know enough to know. I think like a lot of teams that are young, as the season moves forward, they get better. You know, it's not just Duke that's getting better. You look at, you know, Kentucky, you look at teams that have younger guys as the season goes along. And again, a lot of our seasons have been disrupted. Even if you haven't missed a game, there's guys that have to sit out, and, you know, guy comes in with a temperature, you want to sit him out for the day just because you're not sure. So I think like a lot of teams, John, Duke's young. They're getting better as time goes on. They have continuity. And again, I think Mark Williams, the way that they're using him and the way he can erase things defensively changes the way they play a bit.
Let's go beyond basketball here. We're still intertwined in the sport always, but we were asked by an outsider for this pod what your most embarrassing Jeff Goodman story is.
My most embarrassing Jeff Goodman story. Well, the only thing that I would say, and I don't know how embarrassed he is, but he should be, John, is the fact that, you know, for years, he thinks he can beat me in Miss Pac-Man. I mean, it's like his go-to. He loves to say it and loves to talk about it. And every time we play, and I think the last time we played, we were at an Under Armour event in Philadelphia. And, you know, we had a lunch break of a couple hours, and Matt Norlander, Rob Douster, and a couple other guys, as Goodman was proclaiming that he was better than me, followed us over to an arcade and proceeded to watch me beat him by almost 150,000. So it was interesting because after about 25 straight minutes on the machine, Douster and Norlander were walking around the arcade looking for other things to do because they already knew at that point Goodman was talking way over his head.
Coach, speaking of improvements, what are some areas that you want to see your team improve the last couple of games of the regular season?
I think number one, just some continuity. Keep us on the floor here for the remainder of the year. I think that will help tremendously. You know, I think that, you know, our team offensively, you know, love to see us shoot the ball a little bit better. I think we're getting our guards in the lane at times, and we're spraying out. And our team generally doesn't take bad shots. I mean, we take pretty good shots, but, you know, we haven't been a great shooting team all year. We shot it much better, especially from the three-point line against Notre Dame, which was good to see. So we don't have to be an elite shooting team by any means, but we got to be able to keep teams honest. And if our guys can get in the gym here a little bit more down the stretch and knock down some shots, I think would be a tough team, March.
Yeah, I mean, like you guys, I think when you guys have solid, you know, like you said, like you guys have to shoot over 50% from the three, but if you guys have the average shooting percentage from the three-point line, I mean, you guys have potential to make things.
Yeah, I think we'd be tough to contend with because, you know, then you have David and Carlik where the lane's opening up. They're great finishers around the basket. They have really good vision. But again, if we're going, you know, 0 for 10 and a half from three, man, that lane gets awfully tight and, you know, just an inability to score. And I think we're trying to make up for that on the offensive rebounding effort that our guys are given, but it'd be nice to put it all together.
Sticking with Malik Williams, you know, how much is that like adding him this late from that November foot surgery? It just as an acquisition almost it comes off as that you bring him in. But then again, you haven't had a full roster, everybody up and down all year long.
Yeah, it's been a challenge. I think our beat writer said it the other day that, you know, we have not been at full strength for one game. And, you know, it's been a challenge. But at the same time, we're not going to make excuses. It's great that we have Malik back. His voice on the defensive end, his recognition of things happening. You know, so often your guards are your more intelligent players. They're guys that, you know, 6'1", they've been undersized their whole life, so they have to have a really good feel for the game. But Malik, you know, at 6'10", sees things developing. He communicates them well. As his timing gets back, as his conditioning gets back, he adds so much to us defensively. And I think, you know, again, it takes you a little bit longer to get comfortable on the offensive end. He hit a three the other night. I think he can be a guy that finishes on dump offs with Dave and Carlik getting in the lane. So we're excited.
Coach, you know, the unique part about being able to do Zoom is that we can have someone come on and respond to some of your earlier comments. So Jeff Goodman, you are now on the pod, and you have been blown out in Miss Pac-Man.
Listen, this is complete bullshit. I listen. I went 1-3 on his home machine, which Mac plays all the time. Which I'm telling you, it's not even a real machine.
It's not a real machine. It's not a real machine anymore because Jeff broke it.
I'm sure he did. And he didn't pay for it.
I've never seen a guy panic when two ghosts come in the same corridor. He jams the joystick so hard. Like now it's like so touchy. It's incredible. Like he should fix it. He should get it fixed.
What happened in Providence, Mac? What happened in Providence?
I don't remember Providence.
Destroyed you in Providence.
I would
destruction.
The word destroyed. I take offense to that.
Between you two. So what's the record between you two?
That's where destroying comes in.
I think I'm like 2-4, maybe lifetime.
4.
Goodman, you sound like a Cincinnati fan who says, "What happened that one year? What's the all-time?"
Yeah. Hey, easy, fan. Just because you guys got to the playoffs.
The worst part. Wait. You got to see this. Hold on.
I was talking Xavier Cincinnati,
I got to show you
coach.
this.
Yo, I thought you were talking Browns.
I was talking Xavier Cincinnati. I wasn't talking Bengals. I was talking UC fans saying, "Hey, what happened that one year? Let's look at the all-time series history. Series history. It's not trash talk."
I got
you. My wife got me this, but it doesn't work. She got it for me like 2 months ago, and it's in here. It's like one of those smaller ones, and we can't figure out how to work it. I was gonna practice.
You can't figure out how to work the ones that work, and by the joystick's probably broken.
Shots.
Chris, before we wrap up here, I'm from a coach's perspective here. You're going to go to Greensboro for the ACC tournament, and then you're going to Indy. And I'm just curious here, when you're going from place to place, it's only human nature to think about everything that's at stake, the beauty of March Madness, and everything that we went through a year ago. Somebody said to me this week, it's like you're going back to the site of a crime scene.
Yeah. And
you're hoping that it's cleaned up. I mean, how do you think of this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, fingers crossed. I mean, obviously every program is in a different space. John, I'll be honest, most of our guys have had coronavirus, but that does not mean that they can't get it a second time, so we are very, very leery. I think that when you travel, at least when we travel, we're on our own plane. When we go to a hotel, hotels are abandoned. I mean, they are.
Yeah, they are.
You're eating for the most part in your own room, or if you're in a big banquet room, it's very, very spaced out. So I don't think it's the hustle and bustle, and you're not coming into contact with how I think people would think about travel. Yeah. But at the same time, there is a concern. We can only do the best we can and just keep our fingers crossed and hope down the stretch that we can stay clear of it and play the postseason.
What's been your motivation to your team, or what's been the encouragement to your team? Because this year is different from any other year because of the COVID and because of your team getting COVID and stuff like that. What has been your everyday message to your team to stay motivated, to stay hungry, and potentially compete for an NCAA title?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it right there. Our ability to play in the NCAA tournament a year ago was taken away. And there are a lot of guys that returned from last year's team. There's guys like Carlik and Malik who they want to go to the tournament as seniors, and so even though we've had this truncated season with stoppages in play, and that's been something I think that our guys from really the beginning of the summer when we came back have become a really close-knit team. They're not spending a whole lot of time outside of the team with anyone else, families included. So I think our guys have remained close. I think they want to fight for one another. They want to enjoy the postseason that they couldn't enjoy a year ago. And let's just hope that can happen.
You talked about when you took this job at Louisville, how much you saw this, as a dream. What's something that you've learned about that dream throughout your 3 years?
Well, I mean, I think wherever you go, you're always going to have your challenges. And we still are fighting through some things that we knew coming in, John. We were going to be in it for the long haul, and so we wanted to develop, an understanding of how we wanted to play. We want to get tough kids in our program, and we're at the very beginning stages still, but we've competed really hard in the ACC. Our first year with a few grad transfers and some leftover guys, we end up going 10-8 and tying with Syracuse for 5th in the league. Last year we were a minute and a half from sharing a conference title with Virginia when we lost with Florida State, and we lost at Virginia. And this year, it's been strange, but we've taken one of the youngest teams in all of college basketball. I think we're like 338th in experience. And we've battled. So we've got a few more games here down the stretch. And, again, we're trying to instill a toughness in our program and continue to build for ACC championships and eventually Final Fours and national titles.
We always appreciate the time, Coach. Thanks for taking it with us, Chris, and good luck here the rest of the way. Good luck in the NCAA tournament. And you've got that all-time record against Jeff Goodman, always on your side.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me.
We appreciate you. Thanks, Coach. Have a good one.
All right, John. See you, Demetris.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
Well, just great to have Chris Mack, and he's always gracious with his time. Louisville, Duke, Saturday. Mm-hmm. Now, we asked him about the Jalen Johnson situation, and he brought up the fact that, and I agree with this, Duke, with more game experience, they're picking up steam. They have an awareness of who they are. I don't think that has – I don't think that it's fair to just say Jalen Johnson's out, Duke all of a sudden has turned it on. Their schedule. Remember we talked a couple weeks ago about their schedule being potentially advantageous? I think it has been. I think now the Blue Devils have an opportunity. There's a window. Will they make the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I think they do. I think they will. They're playing great. The young guys are I think they're finally getting it. Duke was one of those teams in the beginning of the year where, because they didn't have that normal preparation, having preseason games, practicing in the right time, bonding as a group, we see them connecting when it counts at the last part of the season going into the NCAA tournament. Jalen Johnson, it could be true. I mean, I think it has some truth to it because they're on a, 5-6 game winning streak, and they're playing great defense, and everyone is shooting, everyone is getting shots, and other guys are getting those opportunities that they didn't get a couple games ago. So a lot of stuff can go into that. We don't know how Jalen Johnson was in practice or how he was in a locker room, or, as a player that is a top 10 pick, there's a lot of pressure with shot selection and how many shots a guy gets. And it seems like since he has been removed from the lineup, they do have a better flow and better camaraderie. What do you think?
Yeah, I do think that they're defending better. I think I like what I've seen from Matthew Hurt. I think that this is a team that they have to be disruptive defensively. We have seen all year that on the offensive end of the floor, it's not a team in the half court that if they're stuck in the half court, they're not a team that's comfortable there. Yeah. So I think that they've really collected themselves on the defensive end of the floor. I think that Goldwire is a huge proponent of that. And so I like the way that they're playing. Do I think they're going to make the NCAA tournament? Duke's name matters. If they're in that first four conversation, I could easily see the committee doing it. At the end of the day, you could talk about anything you want. There are still humans inside that room, and they know what sells, and Duke sells. And so would it shock me at all to see them? You know how this goes. It's like Syracuse a couple years ago. They made the tournament, and they ended up making an insane run as an 11, and they were debated, and they, of course, made it. So, brand names matter in this sport. I get that they do. Duke's still in the ACC. We know what the love is sometimes towards power conferences over mid-majors. We'll see. If they beat Louisville on Saturday, then it really is for real, because you're beating an NCAA tournament team. That would be a really interesting win for them. And they have North Carolina a week from Saturday, And the way the Tar Heels are trending, that could almost be like a playing game.
Exactly. And I would love to see what Mark Williams, a young freshman, would do in the NCAA tournament. It seems like he's like a fresher breath air for them because he defends the rim. He has great touch. He has a great second leap. He can finish around the basket. He dunks everything. He boxes out. But speaking of UNC, do you think that they are out of the NCAA tournament after losing last night to Marquette?
No, that's strange loss, beyond strange. I mean, Marquette has been, frankly, bad over the last month. So I could not believe that North Carolina beat them in Chapel Hill, or that North Carolina lost them in Chapel Hill, rather. It makes no sense.
It doesn't.
It made no sense at all. I'm still trying to make sense of it, and I can't. But you know what it is? North Carolina offensively is dreadful. Their backcourt has not panned out. They run into turnovers. This is a team that just, for me, I have sensed no flow from the Tar Heels this season.
Yeah, like you can't. So I think they changed their philosophy from the beginning of the year to the mid because they weren't getting the results that they were getting in the beginning of the year. So they said, all right, well, let's run our big straight down the court. Let's try to throw it inside. But they still haven't figured that out yet. I don't think you could win games throwing the ball off the backboard, trying to rebound it and put it back in because it just doesn't create the flow that you need. And I think they're still in the rebuilding mode. I think next year and the year after that, they're going to be good. But right now, they're not where they want to be.
Well,
they're better than last year, but they're not where they want to be.
But Caleb Love and RJ Davis can't go 4 for 16 in that game. And that's been the problem with Carolina all year. In their backcourt, they don't get consistency. They don't shoot the three well. You can only rely on your post presence for so much of a game. And Garrison Brooks had 18 in this game, and Armando Bacot was not good. He was limited. He wasn't good in this game. Yeah. Carolina, to me, their offense is extremely predictable. Yeah. And unless they're coming out and giving you some sort of unforeseen blast from three-point land, this is not a team that's strong offensively. They are trending in the wrong direction. They are in danger. The ACC this year has had a weaker year. There's no question about it. I mean, the best leagues in America are the Big 10 and the Big 12, and I've said it. The Big 12, to me, is the conference that has the most national championship contenders, in my opinion. Now, you could argue back and say Michigan and Illinois, but Illinois just lost, in this past week. Yeah. I love the makeup of the Big 12. We've loved Baylor all year, but I love Texas Tech's ability to make a run. I think Texas is fantastic. They're coming off a win over Kansas. Oklahoma with Davion Harmon, who we had on a couple weeks ago, Austin Reeves. If Brady Manek's playing well enough, they're dangerous too. So your time for a final thought here. What's your final thought on college hoops? Anywhere you'd like to go, Demetris. The final splash, the last splash from Demetris Nichols. Go.
Last splash. Can Kansas upset Baylor this weekend?
I'm saying no.
You're saying no?
Okay, why would you say yes?
I would say yes only because 2 reasons. They barely beat Iowa State Tuesday. It seems like they were out of whack. Obviously, missing games, not being able to play games, it just, like you lose your rhythm and you kind of lose your confidence. If Adam Flagner didn't step up off the bench, he had 22 points off the bench. If he doesn't come out and play well, I think they lose to Iowa State. So are they still trying to find their rhythm? I think they're still trying to find their rhythm. I think Kansas is in the position where they're in their rhythm. And I think if they have a great game, they have the potential to beat Baylor or upset Baylor. But, like you said, Baylor, they found a way to win. And when you play defense the way they play defense, you always have a chance to come back from 10 points or 15 points. So I think it's going to be a good game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it could go wire to wire.
Okay, my last splash is this. Moses Moody and Arkansas
could
be the real deal. The Razorbacks are back behind the Mussman, Eric Musselman. They've won 5 in a row. They're in the top 20. Moody had 24 in a win over an Alabama team that we both respect.
Number 6 in the country. Yeah.
How about the Razorbacks?
Wow,
The
man.
Hogs are hogging. I'm watching out for them here. You know, you think about the SEC. Kentucky's having a bad year.
Mhm.
But we might have counted this league out a little too early. Not in terms of national championship, Demetris, but maybe second weekend teams. I like the way that Alabama's played overall. Arkansas's on the come up. Tennessee, Missouri are factors. Watch out for Mussman and the Razorbacks. We got to get out of here. Our producer is Pranav. Thanks to him. To Jeff Goodman, Rob Doster. To Chris Mack, the Louisville head coach. That was a blast. He's got the all-time Miss Pac-Man record historically over Goodman. There's no question about that. Subscribe to our Field of 68 YouTube channel. Follow us at Field of 68 on Twitter. Let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at BetRivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with BetRivers yet, now's the time. BetRivers Sportsbook is offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit, but what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. When you win at BetRivers Sportsbook, they pay fast. And now it's even faster with Rush Pay instant approval for withdrawals. It's safe, it's secure, it's reliable. With March Madness right around the corner, there's never been a better time to give BetRivers Sportsbook a try. Go to betrivers.com today or download the BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? You can call 1-800. Demetris Nichols, John Fanta. Here we go. We're down the stretch here. Thanks for listening to Demetris and his